Hello and welcome to this video. This video will explore how we can use frameworks to support the judgments and conclusions which we are making within our academic writing. Again, I will use the triangulation idea to explore how we can do this. So I want to consider the data protection by design principle. To do that, I'm going to have a look at the ethical framework. I'm going to link the ethical framework to the data protection framework, which links back to the data protection element at the start of the triangle. Just a normal disclosure, remember these videos are here to give a very simple understanding of a topic, and you should always discuss the ideas which I present in these videos with the person who is marking your work. At the end of the day, they will be awarding you the marks, not me, and they may want you to do it slightly differently. So always check. In way of an introduction, I want to quickly explore ethics. I'm literally just going to open the door a tiny fraction just so you can start to understand the concept of ethics. So on the slide, I highlight the fact that you need to think about your artifact and how it might disadvantage or put users at risk. Now, users is probably a wrong word there. What I should say is anyone who's engaging with your project. So any stakeholder engaging your project could be at risk. However, it could be much bigger than that, because you could talk about anyone your artifact impacts on. So now we're talking about anybody within the organization or further afield. However, we do need to consider the type of data which is being collected and how we're going to store and deal with that data. For example, if we store somebody's learning need or someone's religious status or marital status, that may reflect negatively on that person, and we need to avoid those situations. Consider the organization's stated approach to their employees. If they say the company will be open, laid back and transparent, and your experiment contradicts that, then ethically that's wrong, because you're not following what the organisation has told their employees, unless you are separate from the organisation. This is the minefield of ethics. And some people would argue what I just said is wrong, because I'm looking at it from one perspective rather than a different perspective. Remember that organisations can be viewed as a community with its own ethics, moral and legal requirements, like any social community. So if we think about the hospital system, in effect the hospital system is a community on itself. A hospital in one city is a community. A school is a community with their own rules. And we have to consider that when we are thinking about the artifact and how it might impact on the people who will use it and who may be influenced by it. Let me highlight that the ethics doesn't stop after you've written the ethical statement or the paragraph or the chapter within the report, whatever is required. It's an ongoing process. And every time you are engaging with respondents to your data collection process, you are always checking to make sure what you think is correct, monitoring the situation. Because it may be that you thought that this process will be correct, but when you implemented it, you've missed out certain key facts which you didn't include. So you need to go back and rectify that within your report, which is great because it shows that you are being critical. And I've highlighted here this idea of a critical reflection chapter. As always, check with your marker. What I would like to do now is share with you a thinking frame which I use when I'm talking about projects and ethics and how people engage with different projects. It has four components. So it has the moral component, and the moral component is the one's own concept of right and wrong. So every individual in the world will have, if you will, a unique concept of right and wrong. And what we need to do as researchers, in whichever domain we're in, is consider what our respondent or the participant brings to the table when we are asking them to undertake research on our behalf, whether that's a questionnaire or an observation and so on. So that's really important. Also consider your own as the researcher. What do you consider to be right and wrong? How is that different to your respondents? The second step or point I think about is the ethical considerations, which is in this case the social concept of right and wrong. So this is so the individual exists within a social context, within a community. The community could be, say, a nunnery, it could be a hospital, it could be a school, it could be a town, it could be a country, it could be a world. We can define community in lots of different ways. For our benefit, let's just say a social concept are the people who influence the individual. And we have to consider these issues which the respondent brings to the project and the artifact. The next thing I want to think about are the legal issues, and this is quite easy. Students find this dead easy because they go, oh right, data protection, that's something I need to consider, and then they kind of stop there. But actually, there's a whole raft of laws which are linked to participants and data. And then we've also got the laws which are linked to the sector which you're working in. What laws do the company have to conform to? What government regulations do they need to achieve? So there's lots and lots of laws which we can talk about within this section. However, you probably don't need to, and this is a discussion you need to have with your marker. And your marker will probably say, just make sure you cover data protection and one ethical framework. And then number 4, the impact on the company, society, economics and people. This one is really reminding me on what is the wider impact of the artifact. So if the artifact was about reducing the workload within a department and the workload in the department reduced by 25% because of your artifact, that might mean a loss of employment. So the impact of the artifact could potentially be people losing their job. And you have to acknowledge that actually there are risks to the wider stakeholder group of your project. You could also consider laws or government funding. Again, speak to your supervisor, your marker, as they will scope how much or how little ethics you need in your project. Okay, what I want to do now is present a scenario to you, and this will lead into the activity I'm going to do next. So a student says to me, my project does not have any ethical concerns or collect any personal data. And I say, great, how did you come to that conclusion? How do you know that the ethical and data protection frameworks are not relevant to your project? And this is this idea of supporting your judgments. The student's response is often, yeah. So it's really important that you know about this support supporting evidence of judgment, or using frameworks to support your judgment. And down here, what as a examiner or a marker of your work, I want to know, how did the student come to this decision? The decision may be correct, but I need to understand how the student came to it. Okay, so let's try to answer the question from the previous slide. On this slide, as you look at the screen, on the left hand side there's a table called the British Psychology Ethical Framework, and on the right hand side is another table called the General Data Protection Regulation. At the bottom of the screen on the left hand side is consent in a golden box, and on the other side, on the right hand side, is another golden box, and that's linked to the General Data Protection Regulation. So the student we've just been speaking about has carried out a questionnaire, and as part of that questionnaire they've asked the respondent to give an email address. According to the ethical framework, because the person has responded to the questionnaire, they must have opted in. They must have physically agreed to participate in the study. Therefore, the very first question of an online questionnaire is some form of disclosure, a information paragraph about what the report, about the questionnaire, how we're going to use it, and so on and so forth. And they said, yes, I agree to it. So straight away we know that there is an ethical framework we need to follow, because we've used a questionnaire to collect data from respondents. On the other side, on the General Data Protection Regulation, it says anyone that processes personal data within the EU. Because the student asked for the email address, they now have to achieve the Data Protection Regulation. The reason being is because it's saying any personal data is data where you can identify a living individual. Because the email is linked to a specific person, we can identify him. So already we know that the student must follow an ethical framework, and the student must follow a data protection framework. So to continue, I've moved on a slide. So to continue, the ethical framework states that you must gain informed consent from the respondent, which means the person who's responding to your questionnaire needs to know their ethical rights, which is highlighted in the table British Psychology Ethical Framework. And they must know what your study is and how their data will be used. That's all part of that informed consent. And when they've read that, they're going to tick a little yes box, and then they'll be able to view the online survey. Within the ethical framework is this idea of deception. And really, there's quite a large paragraph about this. And essentially what they're saying is there must be a clear and convincing argument for the use of deception. And I'll be honest, I always tell students, do not deceive, because it's not worth the long drawn out procrastinated process of justifying a convincing argument to deceive somebody. On the other side, the General Data Protection Regulation, we have processing and purpose of limitation. So processing must be specific, explicit and legitimate to process. To purpose. So here we go. There we go. Informed consent is actually linked to the way in which we are processing the data. Okay. Purpose limitation. Adequate, relevant and limited. So we're saying that the data which we are collecting has a specific purpose. Informed consent. The informed consent is telling the respondent exactly what data we're going to use and how we're going to use it. Moving on to the next slide. Control within the ethical framework. Controlling the environment, controlling the variables, validating the participant. If we're doing online surveys, how do we know that the person who has responded to your questionnaire is who they say they are? So if they put their age in the questionnaire of, say, 35, how do we know that person is 35? And therefore, how do we know the accuracy of the data? And the accuracy of the data is part of the General Data Protection Regulation. How do we know the environment and its impact on the data, therefore the accuracy of the data? How do we control the variables to ensure that accuracy of data? And then storage limitation. Identification of data subject for no longer than necessary. So at which point do we say we don't need to know who the respondent was, we just need their data? So let's remove anything that links the data to the specific respondent. And we're going to have to consider that as part of our process. Moving on to the next slide. Withdrawal. As part of the ethical framework, all respondents have the right to withdraw. They can withdraw at the start, part way through, or 3 days, 4 days after participating, 2 years after participating. They can withdraw at any point they like. And within your methodology, you're probably going to need some form of process that highlights how you will deal with withdrawn data. Because withdrawn data links to the accuracy of your data. Because you're going to have missing data. How will you deal with that missing data? If someone's withdrawing from your questionnaire, what about identifying the subject? No longer than necessary. Are we going to delete the data which identifies them as individuals, or are we just going to delete the entire set of data for the person who withdrew from the questionnaire? These are all important questions, and they're part of the decision-making process about whether your artifact falls under the General Data Protection Regulation and the ethical framework. Moving on to the next slide. Monitoring. So constantly monitoring the state of the participant. For computing, this is probably not that important. However, if we are observing somebody within the workplace and they are feeling stressed and becoming more stressed and more stressed and more stressed, we may have to stop the observation for their health and safety. And as that person gets more and more stressed, what does that do for the accuracy of data? And then how do we consider what data we're storing because of that person withdrawing? But we have to flip that around, because the person may not have withdrawn. We as the researcher may have stopped the data collection process because we recognise the risk to the respondent. Moving on to the next slide, and this is the last one for these two frameworks. Safeguarding the participant, respondent, their contribution and research. So we have to safeguard the participant, we have to safeguard the participant's contribution, and we have to safeguard researchers. How does that safeguarding link to the data protection? Well, we have to process the data in a way which is secure and lawful. And when we are collecting data, we're identifying which researcher collected that data. So we have to be able to protect that researcher. We are identifying the individual people who responded to the survey, so we have to protect their contribution. And then we have to protect their identity, so we have to safeguard them from our data collection process, from how we are using that data. And under the General Data Protection Regulation, it is the data's controller responsibility to make sure that we are achieving all of the General Data Protection Regulation requirements. And in real life, that's probably going to be your supervisor. At the end of the questionnaire or interview, we're going to have to do a debrief. And the reason we're doing the debrief is to achieve data integrity and the data controller requirement. We're making sure that the person understands and are happy with what's happening. Okay, so in the form of conclusion or summary, I outlined a little introduction, talked about what ethics and moral and legal and wider implications of your project might be, and then I looked at the ethical framework and the data protection framework, and I used the General Data Protection and I used the British Psychology Society's ethical framework. And this idea at the top here, data protection by design, the fact that I used the two frameworks to make my decision and the way in which I collected my data supports the data protection by design.